home. Well, we have that capability. So if you expand just that one example to different problems that we have in society and culture, what would be the technical fix that you don't even need a law to fix it? You just implement a technical solution to bypass the human error issue, the human error that we seem to always bring in and amongst ourselves. People want to drink too much and then they think they're Superman and they want to hop in a car and they take out a minivan family that was coming home from a friend's house of dinner. Well, you bypass all of that together by using technology to prevent that situation from ever occurring in the first place.
John, do you have any questions at this moment?
Yeah, and a quick point, the Square Patrol organization that we support, they do use technology, a little mobile, collapsible miniature scooter, you know, to help assist the problem and pop it in, you know. But yeah, that would be great. Unfortunately, I think the state, intellectual property, patent, and copyrights, and I imagine we agree on that. But one thing, you know, the Industrial Revolution and the major changes that took place, you know, 17th, 18th century, 19th century, in order to bring about a higher standard of living for the masses, primarily in the Western civilization.
Right.
I think that had two causes, primarily, one of which was that the state's controls began to limit themselves after the classical liberal revolutions, whereas before it was a monarchy, a state serfdom, feudalism, and everybody acted in order to benefit the king, the state, the ruling class, the ruling caste, right? Mm-hmm. That was the old order, and everybody had a subsistence standard of living. And the big problem was, is what Murray Rothbard says, big libertarian philosophy, was that there was no inevitability in the minds of the masses about the overthrow of the old order, so they just sat and lived out a brutish existence. However, the classical revolutions took foot. A lot of the information from the Enlightenment and the ideals of individual liberty, not living to serve another man or the king, took place, and the monopolistic tendencies of the king in the market and economy, mercantilism started to slowly go away, and I see there was a more opportunity for free market, which is what I believe led to the Industrial Revolution, and that's the precursor to the technological advances that were managed to take place through factories and through division of labor as well. Capitalism was beginning to take foot, not the corporatism that we both are opposed to, but free market capitalism. And the other thing that created this massive rise in the standard of living and the technological advances, I would argue, and this is something that the Zeitgeist addendum is really anti, and hammers how it's not a sin, but it's wrong to be driven by the profit motive or by self-interest. And I believe that individuals, many of them were smart technicians, people that had ideas, and ideas, the marketplace for ideas started to open up as well, you know, whereas before it was still within the ruling caste. These individuals acted in their self-interest, and it's not just their self-interest. A lot of Marxism fails to agree to see this, and also the addendum and the whole philosophy fails to see this, is that it's a two-way street. When I act in my self-interest, it's an exchange with another individual who's wanting to act in his self-interest as well. It's a mutually beneficial voluntary association. We both win. So what I saw is this new division of labor, factories. While it may have been difficult in the beginning, it was voluntary. There's another beef I have with the Zeitgeist addendum. They were referring to wage labor as some sort of slavery, when in reality it's a mutually beneficial voluntary contract. Of course, sometimes work may be difficult to find, but I think there's opportunity for you to just go out and do your own thing, start your own business. There's still a little element of that American dream. It has nothing to do with America, it just has to do with ingenuity. But I think, basically to sum up, that there is self-interest that does drive a lot of the technological advances, and the Industrial Revolution, which did in turn lead to a higher standard of living for the masses. I think free market capitalism had a lot to do with that, individuals acting in their own interest.
All right. Self-interest is important, but there's two kinds of self-interest. There's selfish self-interest and selfless self-interest. There's the self-interest that says, I'm going to do for myself, for only myself, the rest of you, good luck. Or I'm going to have self-interest with the intent of helping others, and in the end, I know you're going to do the same for me, because we have the same mutual beneficial contract, but under a different socioeconomic understanding. That instead of selfish self-interest, I'm going to get mine, good luck getting yours, it's let's work together so that we all go up. And it's still in my best interest for that to happen, because I'm going to live better, but why can't I bring you up too? And that's what I don't think the current system allows to happen because of the competition. And competition is fine. I like sports. I'm a football guy. I like baseball. I like friendly competition is fun. But when you start getting into fiscal competition, there are winners and losers. And the losers are the ones who end up being shuffled underneath the rug, and the third world nations where their resources get yanked for first world use, but they don't get the benefits because their governments and their systems are working with our governments and our systems to say, well, from America's point of view, well, we got ours, good luck with yours. And their government's saying, well, we've got ours, good luck with theirs, their people, and the people are going, where the hell's ours?
Sure.
And they don't get it. And that, at the beginning, what I say, what you're talking about was valid and worked at the time, yes. But I think it has grown into a monster that is irreversible in the sense that the haves versus the have-nots are so stratified now on such a disparate level that the have-nots have no chance of ever becoming a have. And because I'm not Amerocentric, I'm not looking at, could somebody in America, the homeless guy who has the great voice, who suddenly just became a superstar, Tim whatnot, I don't remember his name off the top of my head, but anyway, if he's a homeless guy, has a great voice, somebody recorded him, threw him on YouTube, now all of a sudden he has like 4 or 5 different voiceover gigs because he has this welcome to KBR radio kind of voice. But you're talking one guy out of thousands that are starving, dying, freezing, or whatever. So is that equitable? I don't think so. If you got yes, there he is right there, the man with the golden voice.
Yeah.
So he is one of the lucky ones, right? He happened to have somebody film him that day, that moment, do a talk, throw it on YouTube, bam, superstar. But how many others are out there that don't ever get that luck? So now you're running into a luck, not an opportunity scenario, but a luck scenario. So how can we bypass the luck and turn it into an opportunity? And that's what the resource-based economy system is trying to do. And you run into that issue with the monetary paradigm. I don't have a problem with all that money did up into roughly about the early 80s, between 80 and 85. And I narrow it down to that point for a reason. I'll get to that in a second. But one of the things that you talked about was the profit motive or the incentive. I'll give a key example of a gentleman who is a wicked, amazing innovator and died dead broke and never became anything special, and that's Nikola Tesla. Tesla was, without question, one of the most amazing inventors in the electrical field. If you were to ever study him as not just a man, he was an eccentric nut job, but he was a genius eccentric nut job. The problem was his financial backer, J.P. Morgan, was a profit-hungry douchebag who cared absolutely nothing. Tesla had wireless communication established as a theory and in local practice. He had the Wardenclyffe Tower was an experimental test to try and tap the ionosphere for energy so that you can do wireless energy. He had wireless energy in his mind way back then. And guess what? We have that now. So there is wireless technology. You have a device you can set down and charge your phone from a distance or within the same room. There is an electron field flow that can be tapped into that Tesla figured out. However, JP Morgan's like, wait, if we give away free energy, how am I supposed to make a buck on that? Shut Wardenclyffe down and shut all kinds of systems down in development. So what was the greater good there? Was the greater good the ingenuity of a man who didn't care about money but just wanted to give this amazing energy opportunity so people could light their homes and have heat and things like that so they could live quality lives? Or the man who was only concerned about the profit motive and realized, I'm not going to make money on this because of the abundance of that particular widget, or in this particular case, energy. So there's a tit for tat, and we've gotten to the point now where the profit, the motive, is drastically reducing the productivity of what our technical advancements could be used for.
See, I think we have a common enemy, and that is the status quo and the current monopoly capitalism, monopoly corporatism. There was a difference between Marx and Lenin. Lenin was more revolutionary and radical than Marx. Marx saw the enemy as capitalism or private ownership of the means of production, to sum it up.
Right.
Lenin saw it as monopoly capitalism. He didn't necessarily have a problem with free market capitalism. He saw a problem with monopoly capitalism, and he saw the inevitable outgrowth of that as world empire, which is what we're seeing today. Fascism is another way. But a lot of the things, the problems that you just spoke of, like with Nikola Tesla, for example, I don't think J.P. Morgan is a good example of a candidate to embody the ideal of free market capitalism. He cannot embody robber baron corporatism, getting handouts and manipulating the state. And in the example of Nikola Tesla, and the same thing, and this is another common theme with the Zeitgeist movies, just the simple idea of the movie Who Killed the Electric Car, right? It's the corporate state and its monopoly power of force in order to take away choice and in order to inhibit competition and in order to inhibit our ability from, I believe, fulfilling our human potential through technological advances that would probably lead to more abundance, definitely lead to more abundance than we have now. I believe it to be a problem with the state, and it's the state through their patents and through their intellectual property laws, which don't really sit with natural order, natural rights for a libertarian. It's that state monopoly force. Basically what it boils down to is the federal goons or the corporate police that will come and kick your door down if you start reproducing the technology that they have a patent and copyright on, which they've stored away. So I don't see, I would hope that we could come together with the idea of a free market, because some of the things that you'd be pushing would be this Venus Project, its own market of ideas and market of concepts. If this works, come and hop on board. There's competition. I have another free market capitalism idea where we would have division of labor. We would have a direct exchange monetary unit, not based on fractional reserve, but based on whatever the market dictates is the most acceptable medium of exchange, so we don't have to barter head on, as you spoke of before, which is one of the reasons why money developed. But again, we have the common enemy of corporatism, but I still think that free market, a total libertarian free society absent of the state, I think free markets can bring us to the same end that you guys are calling for as well.
All right. So I would say with regard to the free market and its essential governing processes, what makes a free market a free market? A supply and demand model of I've got something that you don't have, you've got something that I don't have, let's exchange it. And then you assign a value to that based on its availability. If something...
To interject,
no, go ahead.
The Austrian school posited the subjective theory of value as opposed to one of the Marxist schools was the labor theory of value, or just simply supply or its abundance. In reality, in a genuine free market, the value of a service or good is determined by the marginal utility that the individual actor places upon that particular good. So for example, if I have 3 gallons of milk in my house and my family goes through 3 gallons of milk a week, and someone else needs a gallon of milk, 1 gallon of milk is worth less to me if I have 3 of them than if I have 4 of them, for example. Or if I have 2 of them, 1 gallon is worth more to me because the third use would be the use that I would go to if I didn't have this, the 4th one.
So it's use adjusted.
It's use adjusted according to the individual and his perception of what would best, create a better condition for him. And it's not the good in and of itself that has the value. It's determined when the opportunity for exchange comes through, and when the market is allowed to operate. That particular value is at a level where it benefits both parties at a maximum level, and it also furthers production and encourages abundance.
I would say in some respects what the resource-based economic system does is free market, but it's free market without a need for a system of exchange. It's a free market of ideas and a free openness of production. Production on demand and production in mass if necessary. There's a lot of things that we create thousands of widgets for and hope that people will buy them. And then if they don't, what do you do with it? A lot of it turns old, gets rubbished, and gets scrapped. So we do have 3D printing and print on demand and pretty much technological options. So if you went online, I'll give an example. My book that I wrote, Turning Point, that is a print on demand setup. I went through a self-publisher, lulu.com. They don't print 500,000 of them, throw them in a warehouse and hope that I sell 500,000 books. When somebody hops online and orders one, it runs through the automated system and prints it out that moment and ships it off. So you don't end up using as much resources in the long run because you're only printing as needed. You can do the same thing for making a chair, for building a table, for producing a television set, whatever the case may be. You can still follow that same premise, okay? So now if that's possible, and you can make whatever you want, whenever you want, and there's limited to no human labor requirement to do so. The only initial labor requirement is to build the robotic or technical systems that would, like in the production